The Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment. Yeah, guys, welcome to the Michigan Wedding Podcast, designed for engaged couples curious to learn more about the people that make up the Michigan wedding industry on a deeper and more personal level. I'm your host, Seth Michaels, and it's an awesome day, February 2021. We're here at Grow Studios, provided to us today by Dan Nichols, the very incredible, multi-talented gentleman who, hooked us up with this sweet space, the lighting, the sound, everything, and we're actually really excited about having him join us in just a little while and talk about a little bit of his history and kind of what his current ventures are. This is a guy that beat cancer and is just a tremendous role model, I think, personally, for a lot of people out there. So we're really excited about that. Also today, we've got Madison Dresser with Light Garden Photography. Really excited to have an awesome conversation with her and learn a lot of cool insights from her perspective in the Michigan wedding industry. Of course, yeah. And, vaccines are working. It seems like we got a really great year ahead of us. Mm-hmm. The light at the end of the tunnel is starting to glow a little brighter, and I think we're going to have a lot of awesome weddings, guys. Oh, yeah. So really looking forward to that.
Same.
And, before we jump into our conversation with Madison, maybe we'll talk about some tips which have been prepared by Rocky and Richard. Rocky, what you got for us, brother?
Hey, guys. The wedding world. How we doing, guys? Good to see everybody out there. Our tip of the day today is incorporate a first look. And the reason why I say that from a videographer and a photography standpoint is a first look's going to give you more time in your day, right? If you think about it, sometimes people's ceremonies aren't until 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You're not going to see your significant other on your wedding day until 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. That, to me, that's kind of unreal. So, you incorporate the first look, you get to have this moment together before the ceremony, before everything happens. And I always think it's just a beautiful moment for photos and for video.
Agreed.
And when you do that, it gives you now the full day ahead to add whatever you want for your bridal party, your family members for photos. You have way more time to get photos and video. Mm-hmm. So incorporate that first look. It's going to save so much time on your wedding day. And obviously there's those bride and grooms out there that they're waiting for that moment of them coming down the aisle, right? And that's special to them. That's okay. That's cool. I'm not saying you don't have to do that, guys, but if you do that first look, you're gonna have more time in your day, and you're just gonna have more photos and videos. That's just a fact. So that's my tip of the day.
Hey, thanks, Rocky.
Good tip.
What now? From your perspective, what do you think about first looks?
Oh,
Madison?
I feel like I have so many things I could say about the first look. First of all, I think my biggest kickback from couples is I don't want to take away from that moment when my bride is walking towards me down the ceremony with her father or who's ever walking her. And I get that, and my response to that is always nothing. Pigs can fly, rains can fall, nothing, a first look can happen. Nothing will take away from that moment when you are walking down the aisle towards your significant other. Right. So I'll just start there. And then kind of piggybacking off what Rocky was saying, I think first looks are just such a beautiful time to create this intimate moment for a bride and groom or a bride and bride or a groom and groom to embrace each other and really just soak in like, okay, babe, are you ready? Are you ready for this? We're going to go get married. We have this day to ourselves and we can really kick it off with this great moment, and I think that it's also kind of a nice excuse. I know my fiance and I are both criers, so we're like...
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's so exciting.
Thank you very much. So we're like, I don't know if I want to cry in front of everybody that I know and love, so maybe we'll just get that out of the way for the first look.
That's
and I think that's also a perk.
That's a good concept.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Richard? What do you think about first? You ever been like after you set up your rig and the first look is like near your DJ setup, so you get to like have you ever experienced
a few times. It's beautiful.
It is.
I'm with you, like you said. It lets them get that raw, authentic emotion out in an intimate setting,
And it is emotional.
It is.
Because I see more tears then, and I think it's because it's a lot less people. It's a more controlled environment. Mm-hmm. Like that's some of the most beautiful footage of any wedding video that I've seen. Yes. A lot of times it's that first look moment. And sometimes they also incorporate the the first look with the dad too, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And that's always a nice time. Even the moms want to get on it too, and that's always
they do.
It's so cool.
2021.
It's a nice time.
Traditions are cool, but let's also
Mix it up some.
Embrace the new.
Right.
And one last thing on that, though, I will say is I've seen people do the first look, and I've still seen the groom get emotional when she came down the aisle
Yes,
2 hours
same.
later.
just like Madison was saying, it's
So
not
now
going to
you've
take
doubled the moment, you know?
Yeah.
right, because it's not going to take away, like you were saying.
Totally.
You can have both, and they're both going to be sweet, right?
Yeah. I'll add this little ending thought too, but from a creative standpoint. So as the photographer, I set these couples up in the most beautiful curated spot. I got the groom looking good, the lighting's great. We set up the bride, fluff her dress, flowers are great, makeup is flawless, and it's just creatively a stunning moment. And then after I get them all queued up, I step back. I'll use like a 200 millimeter, and I'm sort of in the background, and it really just becomes their moment that I helped them make extra beautiful for their photos. You know,
Yeah.
it's nice.
It's
I
kind
think.
of more in a photojournalistic kind of perspective. Like
absolutely.
you're setting it up, but you're also giving them space to be them.
Absolutely.
Which I really like.
Feel
I like
their
that.
feels.
I like that.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Rocky. That was good stuff.
real
That
Yes,
was
sir.
good stuff.
Good tip.
So, yeah, Richard, what have you prepared from a DJ's perspective?
Yeah. So, when couples are out there playing the music, they want to hear it throughout the day, right? They'll probably get to a point where they're like, well, I want to hear these songs, but I just don't think people will dance to them. They're not dancing songs. So what may work really well, having those songs played during dinner. So cocktail hour-wise, songs we catered more towards the guest, more background music, light, fluffy, stuff people can talk over, During dinner, the songs you like to listen to when you're hanging out together around the house, driving around, the stuff you're listening to when you're, I guess, chilling out together may make sense for dinner. You'll be there to listen to it. And along with that, again, cocktail hour-wise, keep that catered towards your guest.
Because you're not going to even probably
Exactly.
be there. Yeah,
You'll be off taking photos with your
Madison and
family.
Rocky are
I'm
going to
like,
be out
coming
there.
with me during cocktail hour.
So tip of the day, talk to your potential DJ about the music you want to listen to. If you're more of a couple that wants to be a bit more hands-on with the music you listen to, have that play during dinner, cocktail hour, have it catered towards your guests more so.
Yeah, and possibly, this isn't always the case, but that might also be a good time to cater to some of the older guests too.
Totally.
Because sometimes the older guests, they might not be there the whole night for different reasons.
Right.
So, if you're not too afraid of Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin,
Yeah,
that
I
might
didn't
be
think about that.
cocktail
That's a
hour
good
might be a
point.
cool time to throw that in. Yeah. Grandma will love it.
She sure will.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard. That's
course,
some
man.
really cool stuff, man.
Thanks, man.
I really, really appreciate you guys both because both the tips you guys just shared, they're not. It's real stuff that a couple who we do this every weekend. So sometimes to us these things appear to be obvious. But you're planning the biggest night of your life one time,
Right.
and there's so many emotions that you're feeling, and sometimes those emotions can kind of make it hard to think about those things. So it's
Totally. And how nice is it for couples to be able to have a conversation with wedding industry professionals like us who have been there, have done it a
Sure.
couple times, so we can sort of affirm that they're on the right train of thought here. I think this is really going to work well for your cocktail hour music, for the crowd that you're anticipating, or it's a great idea to do a first look. That way you can enjoy your time together. And
Yeah.
I just think it's really nice to be able to mitigate some of those emotions with some professional advice,
Right.
absolutely well said. So let's just jump into it here, Madison.
do it.
I have been looking forward to this conversation
Aw,
with
same.
you. I remember our first wedding together was probably 8 years ago.
Yes.
West Bloomfield.
Plantera sure
Conservatory.
was.
Yep.
Man, that feels like a lifetime ago.
It really does.
What a beautiful venue. Oh, my goodness.
We were both wet behind the ears back
We were,
then.
yeah, we
Super
were. We were
free.
going like running around sweating. Like,
No
oh,
idea what's happening. Just getting lucky and somehow surviving it.
Yeah. Luckily at Plantera, like nothing can go wrong there. It's beautiful everywhere you look, and
Yeah.
everything.
It's candy for a
candy.
photographer. Oh boy. Yeah.
Totally coining that phrase.
I stole it from somebody else. It's fine. It was a photographer. I forget who. But yeah. So that was a beautiful spot. But is there a place out there in the world somewhere that maybe you haven't shot at yet that like would be your dream destination to photograph a wedding?
Okay, are we getting like big dreamy here?
Big dreamy.
dreamy.
Well, I mean,
Big as you can get.
not Mars. I mean, let's keep it terrestrial.
Planet Earth.
Yeah, terrestrial, but yeah, dreamy for sure.
Oh, I love this question. Okay, go with me here. I'll try and paint a picture. Okay. I have this vision before my career is over. I really want to shoot a northern France chateau wedding.
Ooh.
So think of like the rolling hills of northern France. I'm thinking the bride will be in this beautiful modern style dress, maybe some sleeves, and a just big bouquet. You guys know how I do. Like more flowers, the better.
Yeah.
So this big bellowing, beautiful bouquet with some green hills in the background. And chateaus usually have this nice like off-white tan structure to it, and I just, it sounds glorious. There's a photographer I follow who is doing a lot of work out that way, and I'm just like, I gotta get there.
I was going to say, it sounds like you put some thought into this
Yeah,
already.
I just love it. I think that'd be so beautiful creatively and just such a romantic place to get married, and I could see that being a lot of fun for couples who enjoy travel or even maybe just an elopement type of situation. I think that could be a really beautiful, modern, elegant location.
Oh yeah, man! I'm like, I wish we could book the flights right now. They won't let us, you know.
Oh my gosh, you're funny.
Yeah, that sounds so beautiful. And
you.
so, have you done destination weddings in the past?
I have done a couple. My first one was with this cat,
Yeah,
actually.
we went to Puerto Rico.
We went to Puerto
Ooh,
Rico.
Wow. We did a beautiful wedding on the island there, and
Stunning.
we had a blast.
Stunning.
When was this?
It was, when was
16?
that? April of
16 or 17.
17, I think. April
Yeah.
of 2017, I believe.
And we'll link that highlight in the
Yeah.
show notes for you guys.
Oh, that'd be sweet. You could
guys
do
will be able
that.
to, yeah, we'll be able to click
Awesome.
on. You guys will click that link and
yeah,
check out that Puerto
I can
Rico
send
wedding.
you the blog link too for the photo fans out there.
Love it.
Yep.
Oh, it was just stunning. We flew out a week early, and we spent some time just getting to know the couple and the bridal party. There was maybe like 30, 40 guests there. So it was just super intimate, and we all stayed at the same hotel, and it was kind of a week-long affair, and the bride and groom invited us on all the activities that the couples were doing.
Wow,
Like we went
that's sweet.
snorkeling.
It was a real thing. Like
Yeah.
you guys were part of it. It's like being in the
Yeah.
bridal party.
Yeah,
or
it
They
was
something.
treated
amazing.
us like family. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And then they had this beautiful beach ceremony,
Yep.
and I can just hear the sounds of the ocean just flowing as they're saying their vows to each other. It was magical.
It was. Now that we're talking about beach ceremony in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, here's a quick note, and I think it was a good learning lesson.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of Puerto Ricans down there, and they were partying, having fun on the beach, and they didn't know that we were
With their
doing this little
coolers
wedding,
and
right?
their
They had a
chairs,
cooler and a speaker, and they were turning the music up, thinking they were helping.
Yeah.
But it was really distracting from the ceremony. So,
Yeah.
Madison and I went over there and talked to him, like, hey, we're getting these photos, we're getting this video. We're very polite, but we're like, we need this background.
Yeah.
We apologize. Just bear with us. It's only a 15-minute ceremony, literally.
Yeah.
And they were so nice. They ended up moving all their stuff before the mother of the groom came down.
Yeah.
And
it couldn't have been nicer.
so, but my point of bringing that up is if you have this destination wedding or even a beach wedding in mind, keep that in mind that there's other variables at that beach. There might be some random people at that beach that might not know that you're coming for that ceremony.
Yeah.
So, try to plan ahead to have a little bit more intimacy and privacy on that beach if you're going to go that route.
That's
Sure.
a great point. I actually didn't think about that because it's not a set ceremony setting like some of the venues we frequent a lot.
So it's not controlled.
Not
so
controlled.
much,
That's
yeah.
the word I
Yep.
need. Yeah.
So maybe investing in a megaphone could help. Just, hey kids, shut up.
Rocky and I are pretty loud, so
Yeah.
that helps us.
But besides that, the whole wedding was beautiful. The
Yes,
reception
my
was on the
goodness.
beach, and then, or not, the reception was like 2 blocks down
Mm-hmm.
on the beach, but in a building, like a restaurant. They rented out basically like a hall, but
Yeah.
it was very nice restaurant.
Gorgeous,
And they did their
yes.
own design on the inside with flowers, and they had roaming dinner tables, and
nice.
And
was
so
beautiful.
it was unreal. The ocean's right there out the window.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
beautiful.
And the guests just had the best time, I found, because they're in this exotic place and it's love is everywhere and they're on the beach, and now we're at this. There was like seafood for dinner. I
So
just
much
found
to
it like
do,
the whole
right.
event
Yeah.
was just so romantic for everybody.
Yeah.
It was an experience for everyone.
It was an
essentially.
experience,
Yeah.
exactly.
That was so fun.
That was really fun.
What other destination weddings have you done?
My first destination wedding was up to Traverse City, Michigan. So we're down Detroit side now, and I remember being so nervous about that because I'm like, oh my god, a destination wedding! Like, do I even know how to do this? And I found it to just come together so organically. It was beautiful. We were up at the Hotel and Spa Traverse City, I believe the hotel is called, and another beautiful beachside ceremony. This particular bride is a really close friend of mine, so her and I just had the best time planning, and they also invited me in like family. She made me a little, you know how sometimes the bridesmaids will have their champagne flutes with their name on it. She made me one too.
That's adorable.
That was so cute. And then, so we enjoyed the morning together, and then we also had another beachside ceremony. And their reception was under a pavilion with open sides, so you could still see and enjoy Lake Superior or Lake Michigan there too. And then the whole thing was just really relaxed, barefoot fun. And I was like, you know what, destination weddings are like something I'm thinking more about now.
That's pretty cool. I did a Canadian destination wedding, which was really cool because I knew the people.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was Canada. Canada's great.
Yeah.
You know,
You had one in Mexico too. didn't
yeah, I
you?
did one in Riviera Maya, the Hard Rock Cafe.
Was it colorful and fun? I am imagining.
Yeah. It was pretty sweet. You know,
Was it hot?
It was. It was actually it was a Sunday in February, so I came up there Friday. And like part of the package deal, like they hooked me up with a couple days at the resort, so I'm just getting fat and happy. You know what I mean? Just having a blast.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun.
It was cool. And then, but it was a little bit stressful just because of the language barrier. Like working with some of the, it ended up all working out great. And looking back, I wish I wouldn't have felt so much anxiety. I probably could have had more. I could have actually enjoyed those days at the resort.
I feel you. I had anxiety in my destinations too.
Because I was like, you know, there's all these variables that you're not sure about.
The unknowns.
In the language. And the real scary thing was I showed up and there was supposed to be somebody there to get me at the thing and carry me, you know, an hour drive from the airport. And all they told me was they were wearing blue shirts. Well, everybody was wearing blue
You're
shirts.
like,
So I stumbled around for like hours. When I first got there, and I was
and they have all your DJ gear in tow?
all my DJ gear in tow, like just in the middle of this foreign country that and I was through the roof with anxiety. Probably the most stressed I've ever been, like doing my job. You know what I mean? I wasn't even actually doing it. I was just trying to get there.
Totally.
And
that sounds really stressful.
Somehow or another, I think finally the bride texted me because she was in the salon all day, of course, you know, God bless her heart. But she's like, and she gave me she gave me the name of the company, at which point I was able to ask people who this company was until I finally stumbled across it and took me there. But it was,
Ooh, you were sweating in your boots that day.
oh yeah. But and you know, but then the wedding was great. We're right in the water, you know, the ocean splashing against the rocks, getting on my equipment caused some salt rust. But hey, you know, you take the good, you take the bad.
Memories.
But so when did you do your first wedding?
When did I do my first wedding? Goodness. Well, so photo has been a part of my whole life. I hate to say it so vaguely like that, but I remember being young and picking up a little point and shoot camera, and I would like make my parents and brother like pose around the house.
Teenager or younger than teenager?
Like younger. I was probably more in like middle school, like 5th grade, 6th grade, when my creative like photo eyes started becoming more apparent. And then in high school, I lived in the darkroom, dude. I was like in the darkroom every single day. Like at lunch break in the darkroom, 5th hour in the darkroom. Like finished my math test early in the darkroom.
That's like the red room, right? With the water and the.
Yeah. So film photography that's how they process before digital cameras really came about. The film world was all the rave. So which I loved, and I really miss it, to be honest. But you develop your film and your photos in the darkroom. It's just like a really cool photo experience. But anywho, so then I went off to Michigan State and studied photography there, and graduated in 2012. And I was really lucky. I started working for a wedding photographer right out of college. I was like his PA, so I did a lot of studio assisting and client communication, editing, things like that. And then it sort of gave me an idea of what was the wedding industry. And I was still a little curious at that point, though, so I dabbled in a little senior photography, which I did not like very much. And then
senior like senior citizen or senior like seniors
photos.
high school seniors?
Yeah, I worked in I think it was more the studio environment, because I'm very, like, you guys know my work, I'm very like ethereal and airy, and I like that sunshine and stuff. So I found myself a little challenged in the studio doing a lot of senior photos. So then I was like, maybe I'll poke around somewhere else and kind of see what else is out there in the photo industry. So then I started shooting families and babies, and then in 2014 I second shot my first wedding, just sort of as a word of mouth thing. There was a photographer I know who needed a second, and I was eager to learn, so I jumped in to help them. And then I can remember the feeling I had that day. I'm standing there, the ceremony's about to start, everyone's happy and giddy, there's gowns and flowers, and I'm like, okay, like, this is it. Like, this is where I love. So then I just went for it. After that, I second shot as many weddings as I could get my hands on that year. Learned so much. And then in 2015, I was like, it's the year. I'm starting my business, opened my doors, and specialized in weddings. So I really kind of honed all of my marketing and website and all my media towards that. And here I am today.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer to your question.
Oh, no,
but
it's a beautiful answer. I think it epitomizes kind of maybe the moment. I think when she was telling that story, did you guys feel like, oh, I remember when I had that feeling?
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness, I love this.
Especially when you, like, if you go to college or when you're experimenting, trying to find your career. I don't know about you guys, but I had this sense of like, what if I never find my spark? What if I?
Oh yeah.
What is it? Where is it? Where do I find it? And
that doubt is one of the things I think that motivates you to look so hard.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I could not agree more. So feeling that and you're like that wave of just like, this is it, was really something.
Oh yeah. I remember my first wedding. I just didn't know what to do with my hands. You know what I mean? I was like, they were sweating, but that's beside the point. I just didn't. I was like, here. You're just standing there, and you're just like,
Hey.
My first wedding was pretty similar. It was with you actually at Addison Oaks, and at one point.
New Year's Eve.
New
Year's Eve.
Oh,
2013.
Yeah, 14.
14?
I think. Yeah, and at one point, like, Richard, I'm like, Seth, what do I do? You're like, just have fun. Just have
Yeah. Whenever I train somebody, the first time. It's just called a shadow experience. So we tell them, don't feel like you don't have any responsibilities. Just get comfortable with the environment. Just chill, enjoy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's good advice.
It's a lot of
Yeah. And then next time we do this, then I'll show you how to wrap wire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Open a
Whatever.
tripod.
It's a great way to
tripod,
approach how to teach them, definitely. I
And
like
it's
that.
also, it's like if they shadow you the first time, if they decide that they can't handle the anxiety, which a lot of people, I mean, everybody's
a lot of
different.
pressure.
Everybody's different. Everybody's suited for a different, role in this world. But those of us that are suited for that kind of extroverted kind of, like, because even though you guys are creatives, you're very extroverted creatives. And
Yes.
part of it's because you're involved in such an extroverted industry.
Yes.
The wedding industry.
Very
It's
much
it's
so.
all about, hey, putting energy out there, being a part of it, having a great time with people.
Because you got to go from stranger to friend quickly. Like
Real quick.
you walk into the bridal, so as a photographer, I walk into the bridal suite in the morning usually, and you have about 10 minutes of like, okay, I'm here, I want to be your friend, and you kind of make nice with all the bridesmaids and the moms, and I think that I'm so grateful to be on the extroverted side of things because it feels a little more natural to just break the ice and to help everyone else feel comfortable with my presence, and especially when you got like a big old camera you're holding,
It's nice when there's a fun person behind the camera, like, hey, I'm cool. Yeah,
exactly right. Exactly
I remember
right.
when Rocky and I met, since we're talking about origin stories and beginnings with everybody here, I remember we were at the
Westin in Southfield.
I always
How can you forget?
because it says Westin Detroit, but it's not in Detroit. It always throws me off.
The
does
Westin
throw me off.
Southfield off the lodge.
It's a beautiful spot. Yeah, my aunt used to work there for a while, but anyway, because there's some offices up in the top area. But regardless, I saw Rocky out there, and we had already met, during dinner after the introductions, and but what really, and I already liked him, but what really sold me on Rocky was during dancing. He was like no other videographer I'd ever seen. Because usually videographers are kind of like, I can't, I don't want to be mean, and this is not about anybody I know, I promise. But like they're kind of like a stick in the mud, and I'm like, can't wait till they leave so I can get my dance floor rocking, because they're like in people's faces in a weird way, and
I could see that.
They're not conscious of the energy that they're exuding or lack thereof. And the thing about dancing is, it's a very free-flowing thing, and for it to be done correctly, you're not thinking about it.
Yep.
Camera already brings a certain level of heightened awareness when someone knows it's on.
does.
But when you got a guy like Rocky, this is Rocky.
I could not agree more.
Jamming with him.
He sneaks out for a little yeah, you're cool, like nice, like sweet move. He's conscious of, the thing that makes, I think, you really good at. It's a parallel thing with how you make couples comfortable for the photos you take throughout the entire day.
Yeah.
Rocky does that for the event when he's capturing it. the same way. I looked at Rocky. I was like, this guy's cool. And we ended up hanging that night, having some drinks, and we've been really good friends ever since. So.
Totally.
Yep.
You know what that does too? I've seen Rocky at work too, which I agree with everything Seth said. That you know what that does when Rocky's like fist pumping and having a little fun. All of a sudden, guests are like pointing at his camera, and like pumped and happy to be on camera.
The footage is so much better all of a sudden.
Yes, exactly, because he's opening this like this is a fun space. You can be yourself and let loose in front of the camera. No worries.
It's okay that you're wearing a tight suit and whatever. It's like throw that
loosen the tie, Greg.
Put
the
it
biggest
on your
thing.
head, swing it around. I don't know.
The biggest thing for me is just turning those lights off. So after we get the formal dances, I always turn off my big bright lights immediately just to give that comfort to the room. Like, look, these lights aren't going to be on the whole night. I promise you.
And that shows an incredible. That shows something about you that is very, very powerful, because you realize that technically my camera footage will look better if my light's on, but it's more important that I'm conscious and focused about the energy that I'm exuding for these people, because I don't care how nice the footage is. If they're uncomfortable and they leave the dance floor when they see it, it's not good.
Yes.
So you're making an extremely, to me, wise and seasoned choice to say, you know what? I see this variable that maybe is less tangible is more important than the tangible one.
Yep.
So hats off to you, and I wish more videographers could think about that more.
Yeah, cheers.
I hands down to my core believe that is the difference between a good photographer, videographer, and a great photographer, videographer. When they're able to assess the situation and read what the couple wants. Like I've been in situations like that as well, where I'm like, the sunset is gorgeous right now. I want to shoot in it. But then I look over and the couple's sitting and they're having a conversation with grandma. I'm like, no way am I going to go bust into that moment and be like, there's the sunset, guys. Want to go take more photos, even though we've taken hundreds already, So I think that it's about your client. In the end, you want them to really love the experience that you gave them and to feel well taken care of, and like their priorities always come first. And I think Rocky does that beautifully for sure.
Absolutely. So, man, this has been a lot of fun so far.
Wow, we're loving this.
I love the Michigan Wedding Podcast.
While we're talking about that point, though, Madison, what are some suggestions you could give to other photographers to lighten that mood, to create that atmosphere inside the bridal room or at the wedding or at the church, wherever they're at? What tips can you give them?
This is a great question. Yeah, I'll just lay it all out on the table for you guys.
Lay it out.
Let's hear it.
I think that good old-fashioned relationship building is the tea. You never discount a conversation. When I have my conversations with couples, I really love to take them to coffee. I ask them, pre-pandemic, I was always like, let me take you out for coffee. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's get to know each other. I find that the time that you invest in those types of interactions with your couples is going to translate later on their wedding day, because now I walk into the bridal suite. I've seen this bride 3 or 4 times now. We've had coffee. We've had an engagement shoot. We've had a conversation about the dress that she's thinking about getting for her mom, because we're friends now and she wants my 2 cents, and I'm loving it, and I'll take the time to have that conversation with her. And then come wedding day, I'm able to walk into the bridal suite and she's got my name on a like champagne flute, So it's, what do I always say to my couples and my peers? If you take care of others, they're going to take care of you.
Right.
And that's like the core where I try to run my business. So I think that's something to never look past. And then I also think my second tip I can throw out there is just awareness of your situation, like we've sort of touched on already. But I found that when you can take a step back, once you start to master your craft, so now I can close my eyes and use my camera. It's sort of second nature, which I am so appreciative
That's really
for.
impressive.
Well, thank you. Like not really, but just to make a point. The reason why I'm so grateful for that is because now my camera's happening, photos are happening, and it opens my brain up to be aware of the situation. Does this bride seem kind of nervous right now? Is something bothering her? Do I have a second where I can get that clutter out of the corner that seems to be stressing her out about her photos and be a solution for her? And I think that also goes a long way. You're a customer service representative at the core of it, So to be able to help in other ways besides photo, I think that's that's money, honey. You really
oh,
want
yeah.
to.
And I've seen you set that expectation too with
Yeah.
our preliminary phone calls. You know, I've been on those
Yes.
phone calls with you
Yeah.
where you're explaining to the bride and groom, this is what we're doing at this time if you're okay with it, and this is how much time it's going to take, maybe a little bit more. And so you paint that picture for them before you even go into the day,
Yes,
and they know,
sir.
okay, Madison's going to be a little finicky during the dress stuff because that's important to her, and she told me that's important to her, and it's important to me too.
He's
And,
so
and
right.
so I'm
He's-
listening to her, you know.
Totally.
So,
And brides are like, I didn't know that was important to me, but I do now.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Totally.
let's you have your first phone call with the couple.
Mm-hmm.
From that all the way to the very end when you're giving them the final product, you know, the photos.
Yeah. Ooh, my favorite part.
I was gonna say, what's your favorite part? That's your favorite part?
Ooh, okay. That's a good question. My favorite part for me as a creative.
Yeah, like what's the moment, if it's not too hard, you know, that's just like you love between the
okay.
whole process of what you do and how you do it.
Okay, I have a couple answers for this.
Yeah.
The first one, I'm really close with my dad, just as like a personal no. I love
Cool.
my dad
beautiful.
so
Yeah.
dearly, and I find that I've been to hundreds of weddings, hundreds, and still to this day, when Dad stands up and gives a sentimental speech, here I am, like I've known Dad for 10 hours. Crying in the corner, and just
Yeah.
like, this is so beautiful. I'm
Same
so
thing.
glad my
Richard-
camera has
Richard does too.
autofocus.
I do it a lot.
I
Yeah.
love that moment.
Dads always get
God.
Richard. They do.
Every time. You think about having a daughter one day.
Oh
you
my,
know?
okay, so
know?
you get it. I'm like, am I
Yeah,
weird for saying this? But
Right. You're like, man, one day I'll be dancing with my daughter. You know? It can be a tearjerking moment.
so sweet. Oh, my heart's just melting.
And I always know what my dance would be with my mom. I know the song,
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
mom's, and I'm far from getting married, but she always tells me we're playing this song. So when I'm at other weddings and I hear that song for the mother-son dance, I get emotional every single time. 'Cause
What's
I'm
the
like,
song?
What song is it? Yeah.
Simple Man by Leonard
Leonard
Skinner.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, please.
So-
Don't you worry.
Yeah, that was just,
Love that song.
yeah. So
All that you need is in your
That's a
soul,
good
brother.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that, man.
Oh, so you get it too. I find that when this may sound kind of silly, but when I let my own emotions show at a wedding, like couples love
They love
that.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Family members love it. They're like, she cares.
She's
She
Yeah.
cares.
And-
She's here with us, you know. She's
Yeah, and
present
she's here with us. That's a
it.
beautiful way
That
of
is
saying
so
it.
important. And I like what you touching on one of the things you brought up about how because you've been able to master the technical aspect of your
Yes.
job, it's given you the mental bandwidth to be able to think about these other things that
Beautiful
are more
way of saying
or
it,
less tangible.
yes.
And I think that's probably motivation to hire somebody that has been doing it long enough to have mastered the craft. And that's just a matter of
Yes.
time.
Yep.
I mean, anybody can do it. Obvious, anybody can
Just
master.
comes with practice.
But you got to do it a lot.
I talk about this all the time with.
I mean, no, not anybody can do what you do, but I'm saying anybody could get into the industry theoretically.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
Oh,
that
I
matter of
understand you.
practice. You know,
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
your
You're
work is
spot
one of
on.
a kind. Let me make that very clear.
Stop. Thanks. I think about this a lot, actually. Like, I don't know about in the entertainment industry. Probably, though, if you have like, well, maybe we'll just play our own playlist. Every now and again, I get a couple that's like, oh, well, my uncle just got a new camera, so he might take the photos for you. And I'm, of course, never going to push that. If that's what they really want, then I respect that, of course. But I do like to educate couples that there are a lot of logistics that you learn on the job that your uncle may not be savvy to because he hasn't shot this many weddings. Like you're saying, there's a technical side of it. So can you nail your camera and your lighting and you got that exposure and you guys can read the crowd and play your playlist and have a great vibe going on? That takes practice and precision and expertise to figure those types of things out. So to just throw Uncle Jimmy into the day with his camera, I'm not sure he's going to know how much time you need for details, how important it is to get a photo of just the bride and her mother, the two of them, because a lot of times things are shuffling, things are happening fast. Maybe you get those big family photos, but you never did just the bride and her dad. But like, that would crush me if I didn't have a photo of just me and my mom or me and my dad, excuse me.
And you only get one
Stuff
shot
like
at this
that.
stuff.
Right,
If the
exactly.
day's going to happen once, if
Yeah.
you miss it, well, you missed it.
So I feel like those are the kinds of things we can offer as experienced professionals, just the logistics that couples may not even be aware of that are available to them on a wedding day that a good professional can really hone and provide for them. You following me?
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm
no,
saying? Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool.
So it's a little veer off to a different direction
Yeah.
here. micro weddings.
Micro
Have you gotten to do some recently?
I love micro wedding. Okay, funny story. Like a couple years ago, like way before the pandemic, my one of my brides, she wanted to do a backyard wedding that was in her mom and dad's garden in their backyard in Ann Arbor, I believe. There was about 8 people at the ceremony, and that was the first time I'd ever like heard of anything like that. I'm like, what do you mean there's not 300 people on your guest list, you know? And I remember that day, it was just magical. It was so chill. The beauty of a backyard wedding is you're on your own property, you're on your own timeline. There's no wedding coordinator running around rushing, making sure everybody's taken care of, and it was just more relaxed, more intimate, more time for real conversations. I think that's what I'm finding in micro weddings is that when you have a 3-person guest list, I think you and I were talking about this recently, you have to, dinner's over and you bride and groom make their circle to start saying hi to everybody. Like 300 people is a lot of people to say hi to and have small talk with.
Even 200.
Even 200, yes, sir, exactly. And usually once you finish the highs, then people are going to come start saying goodbye, you know, because people are ready to go. So then here you go on your circle saying goodbye again. And I find that at micro weddings or with smaller guest lists, you are able to have more in-depth, genuine conversations and less of the small talk niceties, thanks for coming, which I find to be very romantic on your wedding day to really connect with your people, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's something we found as well this year. Richard just did a micro wedding just recently. It's been since December for me. But yeah, it seems like people are, there's 25 of them. They all know each other. Those hellos are real quick. They're all unique. But if you have a 300, 400 person guest list, although I love those weddings for other reasons.
Right. I don't hate them.
But I think we're basically looking at the bright side of the reality of how life has been for the past year and trying to gain what edification can we gain from what happened. And I think we learned that it's okay to have a small wedding.
Yes.
It's okay to have a huge wedding, but it's small weddings, you get some benefits that you can't get from huge weddings. And you bring up really good points. Because what I've noticed, I mean, we've all been in a situation where, I don't know, let's say you kind of just keep on recycling the conversation you had just now for this conversation. And so you keep on kind of saying the same things, and because it's just more efficient, and you know what I mean? You're just tired.
And you got 10 more tables to go.
And you're tired and whatever. But when you have a smaller wedding, it's like you get that done with by dinner, and then the whole rest of the night, you're just partying with these people.
Yeah, see, exactly.
So it's awesome.
Yeah, we did a micro wedding a couple weeks ago, and I was talking to one of the bridesmaids, and the bridesmaid had a huge 400-person Italian wedding, and she's like, looking back at experiencing this pandemic and then going to my cousin's wedding now with 40 people, I really wish I didn't invite all of those people. And it was really interesting because her wedding was pre-pandemic, it was when things were normal, and it was really interesting to see her perspective on it. Looking back, I really wish I had less people at her wedding. So it's a really interesting thought,
Yeah.
I think the micro wedding is going to become a big trend in the next couple of years, I think.
You know what? I have a thought about this too. This is kind of a blunt thing to say, so just go with me here. The wedding industry, in my opinion, started to get a little big and bougie. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Like when my parents got married, it was a little simpler, a little more about the bride and groom, not such a huge ordeal. And then I found that it started getting a little, like centerpieces started getting bigger, dessert tables started getting bigger, guest list started getting bigger, and it sort of became more of a spectacle of this, like an entertaining event, more so than a romantic nuptial between people who love each other. So what I have found with the pandemic is it's almost humbling everybody back down to these more intimate wedding scenarios where we're sort of getting back to the
what actually matters.
What matters, yes, exactly. And I've been loving that transition. I just shot in January, I shot an outdoor wedding in January, you guys, my first one ever. It was so cool. I was sort of like, why are you guys getting married? It was a little cold. But going into it, I definitely had my doubts because I'm like, okay, it's January, we're going to get married outside. But you know what? It turned out beautiful. It was the bride and groom. They wanted to honor their original wedding date, which was January 16th of 21. And they moved their big ceremony to 22 in spring, I believe, but they still wanted to do something to honor their wedding day. So they had a backyard wedding at their brother's house, and it was so twinkly and fun, and they had those. You've seen those heaters at restaurants where they
It's like a
The big,
like
industrial
those gas
spacey,
heaters
yeah.
where they kind of pump out a lot of heat, and then they had a tent that was sort of half open, but it was warm and cozy in there, and then they had a bunch of little fire pits spread out all throughout
Sweet.
the yard, and I didn't find myself being cold at all. I was
Yeah.
racing around, obviously, as I do, but
Yeah.
I still found the girls wore like fur. The bride had this really cute bridal cloak on, and it was just the cutest little, and it was snowing a little bit like during her ceremony. I'm like, this is not real. This is totally happening. And it was
That's
beautiful. I thought
awesome.
it was great.
They were able to
So
pull it off.
They pulled it off,
Yeah.
exactly.
And maybe it was a backyard, you said, right? Yeah, we've had some really awesome backyard weddings
Yeah.
last year.
Oh, yeah.
More than ever. you know,
Yeah,
'cause
more
it-
than ever,
Well, because
totally.
people had their date and they're like, the venue couldn't do it, and they're like, well, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, I still
And,
want to get
you know,
married. That's the whole
so-
reason why I'm doing this.
Right.
Yeah, I think some of my favorite weddings before the pandemic were the backyard
Yes.
weddings.
I was gonna say the
you know?
same
Yeah,
thing.
same.
And I'm starting to realize that afterwards, like, yeah, I've always loved these sort of spaces.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like people are more open to really be themselves and let loose at a
Yes.
backyard wedding, because it's your property. You're with all your friends and family. You're not at a venue, you know.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I agree.
But yeah, it's so looking back on the past 8 years of you, or 8 years since we did that. You've been shooting 2014. So
Yeah, 2014 is when I started second shooting.
how would you describe your ideal client? Like who?
Oh, my ideal client. This is like a heavy question when you're a business owner, right? They're like, you got to figure out who your ideal client is. And
The
at
one
fir-
that pays the most.
Yeah, right. The one that's giving me their credit card number. That was a journey to figure that out, and a good one too. Anybody that's looking to start a business or in the wedding industry, it's important to know who the heck you're talking to when you're trying to sell a product. Because engaged couples is way too big and broad. There's about 1 billion different types of engaged couples out there, in my opinion. So, what I have found, my wedding tagline is soulful wedding photography for outdoorsy couples. And I think that just helps paint the picture. I connect with couples who want to see the love in their eyes. They want that connection. They want to feel comfortable in their photos. They want their emotions to be part of the imagery. So that has sort of been where I have found couples that love the outdoors, first of all, and are a little more sunshine than like edgy city, I would say. That's just more aesthetically, but
You like them with a good tan.
yeah, I know. If you're like tan, if you're good looking, hit me up.
You like the sunshine.
Yeah. But in all honesty, I think it's more of those couples that they value their connection, and they value sharing that connection with their vendors on a deeper level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not just going through the motions.
Not
Right.
just going through the motions. Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned it
Love that.
earlier. I guess, what's your photo style like, I guess?
Oh, that's a great question. I have had, so I was like, what is my photo style like? So I put out a comment, and I'm like, guys, what's my photo style like? Give me some words here. And so a lot of things I saw were very clean, bohemian, ethereal, bright, airy, earthy, really that kind of like barefoot bride with a flower crown, if you can picture that. I think that's where I've landed these days. With a little modern flair.
Barefoot bride with the flower crown.
Yeah.
That's such a good visual.
Is it?
like,
Okay,
it's
good,
exact-
good,
yeah.
And so if people are interested in your services, where can they find your website, your email? Do you have a
Yeah.
number they can call?
You guys are too sweet. So I would say follow me on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most because social media is hard, so I had to pick one. That's my favorite one. It's at Light Garden Photography, LIGHTGARDEN Photography.
And we'll link all this stuff
And,
beneath.
oh,
yeah.
great, cool. And then my website's a great place too to kind of check out the scene. I've been trying to pick up my blog game. As a photographer, I have all these images, so I find the best way to organize them and create value is to blog.
Oh,
so
yeah.
check that out. And then
What's your website?
my website is lightgardenphotos.com.
Got it. We'll put it on the screen for the people
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely. And then there's a lot of different ways to reach out. Feel free to DM me. As I've been saying, I'm like a face-to-face, one-on-one kind of girl. Sorry, Rock.
No, we're leaving that in.
No, we're leaving
Okay,
it.
leave it
That's
in,
great.
leave it in,
Yeah,
And then let's have a conversation. I was just texting a bride the other day, and being able to connect human to human, I'm all about that.
You do a lot of, obviously, we're Zooming now a lot.
A lot,
Phone
yeah.
calls,
yes.
Zooms.
Yeah, sure
Ki-
thing. thing.
And if you want, you can brew your coffee hot right before, so that way you can get that having coffee with Madison kind of feel.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a coffee in the mail. Make it right before we talk, okay?
Well,
Too funny.
Before we let you go, can you
Sure.
tell us a little bit more about what your clients will get if they hire you for photo-wise? Like, do they get a photo album?
Oh,
Do you offer
totally.
things like that? Can you tell us more about that?
Oh, yeah. I'll go my little elevator pitch for you guys. So my pricing structure is a little unique. I have rid myself completely of the 8, 10, 12-hour packaging. I find that that's sort of a common way to organize. And selfishly, I just hate having that looming, like, oh my God, we only have 1 more hour left till we hit our 8 hours. It just sort of takes away from what I'm trying to provide my couples. I want to
That
feel
makes
relaxed.
sense.
I want them to feel relaxed. I want them to feel like I'm there taking care of them. So what I have done, I have a base collection that I've put together that I think really suits a lot of couples, and then I offer other things a la carte. So couples are flexible to create their package that feels great for them. So with the base collection, it is me as your photographer, of course, and then the pre-wedding date. So I'll help you curate that timeline like Rocky and I were talking about and really answer any logistical questions you guys have. We're going to start hair and makeup at 10. I'm going to do some detail photos at 10:30. We'll get you into your dress at noon and so on and so forth. So we just feel nice and tidy and organized. Then your day of photography, I'm usually landing around like 9, 10 hours with couples, but flexible, as I said. And a finished gallery. I hand edit everything myself because I'm super bossy like that. And I like to deliver the gallery about a month after their wedding. And then I also send a little surprise gift in the mail, which I'll keep you on your edge of your seat about.
oh, come on. What is it?
That's cool.
But just a little something. What is it?
Little surprise.
Exactly. A little surprise for my couples.
Oh.
And then engagement.
Couples
wedding.
out there, if you want to just shoot us an email, let us know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. P.S. People are dying to know.
That's right.
And then, what was I
And
saying?
we'll tag that in the description
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Don't tell Madison.
Totally. And then
Sorry.
things like, you're fine. And your engagement shoot, a second photographer, and a wedding album are a la carte options that are available
Cool.
for couples should they want it.
And second's cool if you want to have that, the kind of the bridal parties when they split, kind of get them simultaneously.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we could have a whole podcast about second shooters.
Yeah.
If you're leaning towards getting a second shooter, like do it. I always tell couples it's a luxury item, but like no bride ever is like, man, I really regretted hiring a second photographer to photograph such a big day in my life.
Right.
You know what I
'Cause
mean?
You get 2 angles on everything,
You get
right?
2 angles, you get 2 artistic points of view, you get 2
Different locations.
different locations, yeah. And
It
At the
gives you a
same
lot.
time.
It gives you a
Yeah.
lot of flexibility. So if there's, hey, we're going to be off taking romantics here, but hey, you go take the cocktail hour in case something cool happens there.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So,
And especially in the beginning of the day, too, I talk a lot about how I want my brides to feel relaxed. And a way I can do that for them is if I have a second photographer helping us with the boys, then I'm with the girls all morning. So then she can relax and just enjoy the day. She's not looking at her clock because I come at 12 and I have to get out of there at 1 to go race and find the boys to get them all ready, to get ready for the ceremony at 2. If there's a second photographer there, then I'm there. I'm with the bride. I'm covering everything that's happening. There's no need to rush, and it's just kind of a nicer feel for the
Yeah.
couple. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Madison, we really appreciate you coming
yeah,
on today.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm so
I
happy
know,
to be
I know we
here.
have Dan.
Thank you so much.
Dan's backstage right now, hanging out, and
Sure
is.
we'll bring him on soon.
Well, before we do, it's been awesome talking
Oh
with you
gosh,
here.
you guys
Thank
too.
you.
I'm
Yeah,
honored to be here. I'm so happy you guys thought of me and invited me.
It's been
and
great.
It's been a wonderful
Yeah.
afternoon. Thank you.
Anything kind of to final words here to wrap it up?
Final words. Goodness.
Madison, I got something for you.
Yeah, lay it on me. What is it?
If you could talk to your bride and groom right now, and they're thinking about saving money on
Mm-hmm.
photography, tell them why maybe you don't want to be cheap, lack of a better word, with your photography and or videography and or wedding service.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question.
Good question,
And I've got a
yeah.
good answer for you. So as a photographer, and I know you relate to this as a videographer, we're in a position to help couples understand, maybe not understand, but to help couples get a feel for after the wedding. I think there's a lot of pressure and your flowers and your hair and makeup and all the logistics of the day of, and that's sort of this whirlwind of things you're thinking of all leading up to one day. And as the photographer, I am in the unique position where our services go beyond the wedding day. So after the couple has exhaled and they're married and they're home from their honeymoon, kind of getting back into the flow of life. Their wedding photos are what is left over. That's what your cake is gone, your dress is dirty, but your photos are there, and they are such an important way to remember your day, and to be able to relive that. And I find if you go cheap with it, then you might regret it, because going back.
There's a reason people set their pricing.
Yeah.
If someone's setting it low, they're probably new. Maybe they haven't mastered that technical stuff we've talked about.
Exactly.
So, I think that's good advice.
I think so, too. I do think that obviously I'm biased, right? But I do think the photography is something I'm certainly going to invest more into mine for my wedding, because I just truly value the longevity that images can bring to your wedding memories,
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, Madison, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison,
Bye.
for joining us. And guys, if you want to learn more about Madison and what she does, all of the info is in the link below. We have the info bar down there. Click on her website, check out what she does, check out her photos. She is amazing. I've done hundreds and hundreds of weddings. She's hanging out with me backstage now. She's in the shot. So we're going to give her one more shout out, and make sure you click that link. And we're going to bring Dan in the studio for a minute.
Right, Dan.
Dan's going to chat with us a little bit about his space that he's allowing us to use for our wedding podcast. We're super thankful for that.
Really
so
appreciate it.
I'm going to turn it over to Seth and Dan. And Dan, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and kind of how you got here to this awesome space in Troy.
Well, one thing has dawned on me, that I definitely need some new chairs.
You think?
Because this one's kind of bottoming out. We're at the same height, man. You see this? I'm slumped down in the chair. Hey, so I've been in the entertainment industry for a long time. I've always had a heart for helping entrepreneurs. Worked in a nonprofit in Detroit for a few years, helping people launch, and loved that. And it's just been, how I think people are process oriented. Like, I used to think what I like to do was go play music.
Yeah.
But the truth is, then I moved into corporate coaching, because what I really like is work in a room. And I mean, I still, and part of that does involve music at times, right? Mm-hmm. But work in a room, man. Going into a room that has a certain level of energy and saying, I can change this.
Yep.
I can change this, man. And what do I need to do that? And we use music, could be one of the tools. Mm-hmm. It could be how you're speaking, anything like that. But anyway, long story short, my passion is just helping people grow what they've got. The name of the studio is Grow Studios. It just excites me to be able to help people get their word heard. And that's what I do. That's what I do at the studio. I use corporate messaging as a big part of what I do.
What's your website?
Website is growstudiosclub.com.
Is that the best place to visit if people are interested in your services?
Yeah. And I'm tweaking in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be 100% different than it is right now. But Grow Studios Club is a great place to go. They can even set up an appointment. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about who those people might be, out there. Because I know you got a vibrant, rich history, like you said, starting off doing DJing back in the good old days and today as well. But you, a veteran of the entertainment business, and kind of at this point, kind of focusing on corporate coaching and teaching marketing and funnels, and also providing this space for, I think you were mentioning corporate messaging was. So tell us a little bit more about who those people, who have you worked with in the past? And who
so I mean, I'll give you an example of a couple that are just totally up my sweet spot right now, and that is, well, here's the truth. The truth is there's people that have new ideas. They got I've got a new product, but it usually means they don't have any money yet. And I need to make money because I got to feed my family. You know what I'm saying? So I will work with the new startup or somebody who's got a brand new product. But really, if I've got a target market, one that I'm finding myself falling into is right now I'm working with a company that's worth certainly a couple $100 million, maybe more. And ultimately, they want an exit strategy. They want to sell this thing. And ultimately, it kind of does something else for me. I've kind of became almost I look at myself like a business broker. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm helping them to craft their message and hone who they are, and then also educate the people that need to understand who they are and what they do, because they have a kind of a complicated software artificial intelligence thing that they do. And it's kind of complicated because it's very, very, very brand new. They're creating a niche, if you will. Mm-hmm. And what do they call that? A segment maker. They're creating their own segment with what they do. So that would be one example. Another one is a group of doctors that have come up with something to help with COVID, which is crazy cool. Yeah. Ultimately, the end game for them.
Oh yeah.
Sell that bad boy to a big pharma. Yep. So I become their marketing guy because that's not something they know or understand.
Helping them strategize their pitch. Kind of thing.
Strategize their pitch, line up their pitch, figure out how we're going to measure and, create video, find out, video is a big piece of it for me. I've just always been a video marketer. And just, helping them to see the bigger picture about, and the big thing too is like, who do you want to be and how do you want to occur? Like even in your business, right? Like, how do you want the bride to feel when she does business with you? Because that's what a brand is. It's how it feels for people to do business with you. That's at the end of the day, that's the simplest way of explaining it, right? And is it everything's dialed in? They're super, like dialing in all the little things. Like right now in this studio, guys, I got some white on the bottom above the baseboards, and it's driving me crazy. Like I need to fix that, because like I want to dial that in because I don't want to make it look like I leave anything untouched.
Totally.
But anyway, so so that would be like me is helping people to grow their businesses, or even helping them to get them situated so that they're ready to sell.
Sure.
So another piece.
Awesome. So I guess someone out there that might be listening right now, I guess what's like a piece of advice? I mean, you've been a real estate mogul. You've
I'm never a mogul. Never a mogul. Man.
But you've done a lot of stuff successfully and made money in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
So you obviously have just the skill set deep within you that's made this possible. But if you could give someone out there who maybe is a little earlier on in their, like us, a little earlier on, in their business, what's some advice that you would share to be able to achieve the success that you've been over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is to understand that that you're not an imposter if you do what you do. So like there's a psychological term called the imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And I know I kind of already picked up, like you kind of get that.
Yeah, I think everybody's felt that who's ever, I think everybody's whoever put a big enough challenge in front of themselves, they've reached a point where they're like, wait, am I the right guy for this?
Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm not. I better, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, so an imposter syndrome, you don't believe you are, so you don't think you can.
Right.
Yeah.
And when do you take that piece of agency? That's what we call it, when you all of a sudden decide, no, I am it. I'll give you an example. This studio, like, I'm not a photographer, or videographer, or audio specialist, but I started a studio.
Hey, you could have fooled me.
Yeah, 5 months ago, I started a studio, and then I started making phone calls to people I knew that helped me to understand. And I watched YouTube videos and dove into it. And I've had people walk in, they're like, dude, what? What? Like, you got a studio? It's because I believe I can.
Yep.
It's because I believe I can, because I can figure this out. I'm smart enough. I don't need to have the highest IQ in the room, but I have to have enough of an IQ just to I got to be able to figure stuff out, and I know I got that.
Yep.
And I can call guys like Rocky and say, hey, Rocky, what do I do about this, and this? And that's what you do. You got to figure stuff out fast. And I had to pivot because of my training business and the entertainment industry have kind of whoosh. And because I've been at it a long time and wanted something new. And this is kind of another level of, it's a part of the growth for me.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like the namesake.
That's right.
Growth Studios. Yeah. Well, Dan, it's awesome. Thank you again for this opportunity to film this.
Dan, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know that you used to be in the wedding industry. We know that you have some wedding tricks up your sleeve.
Well, he's still in the wedding industry. He's got some weddings lined up.
His endeavors are focused on a couple other things right now.
Yeah.
But as we get you more on this podcast, hopefully we can pull some more information out of you with the years you put in. So share a tip to our bride and grooms that you've experienced maybe over the years that you've learned from that you would want to share for them that might benefit them.
Yeah, I'm going to give you one right now, guys. I heard that you had posed the question here about a few minutes ago in the podcast around getting what you're worth, getting your value, what you're worth, and why would you want a less expensive versus a more expensive? And I think part of that too is that agency piece of saying nope, I'm pretty darn good at what I'm doing, and I'm worth it. And there was back in the day probably before you were born and probably before you were in the industry, there was this guy that had this thing called I'm worth more than a veggie platter. And he sold this to the DJ industry. He was get up on the stage, and it was called worth more than a veggie platter. He had swag and everything. And it came because one time he was walking his DJ gear into an event and he came really close to bumping into this person that had a veggie platter. And they go, whoa. Now mind you guys, 20 some years ago, right? That's a $500 veggie platter.
Yeah.
The guy's like, you pay $500 for the veggie platter, and I'm getting $350 to DJ this wedding? Now, mind you, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah. Inflation and stuff. But
Inflation and stuff. And I'm going to tell you, when I got that message, that was the end of it. I knew it right then. I'm like, that's it. I'm not going to argue it because I know it's true. The DJ is the one that creates the energy in that room. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? I mean, I always say when I walk into a room, I inhale it, man. I feel it. I drink up the room and I feel it. And I'm like, and I can just intuitively get like, where do I need to go to change the dynamic and the energy in this room? And a good DJ, a good DJ can take a mediocre crowd and make it a good wedding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They can take a good crowd and make it a great wedding.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in what you pay for. So it's kind of like an insurance policy. Yep, this guy's $500 more. But you know what? If I want better auto insurance, I pay a little more for the auto insurance, I get a better coverage. You know, like you pay more, you're getting more. And if people say, why are you more? And if I'm going to be really frank, because I can be.
That's the answer.
That's the answer.
Because if someone's offering half the market rate,
Yep.
it's because they have to.
Yep.
And if someone's offering double the market rate, it's because they can.
Yep.
And that's economics.
Yep.
That's just supply and demand. Hey, there's only so many of folks like you
Right.
who are out there to do these jobs. You know,
Because I can be.
And it's like that with any industry. I mean, I just hired a plumber yesterday, and like looking at the pricing they're charging, it's insane. I mean, these guys made two guys came, spent a day. They made a couple $100 an hour each. Like they made like what lawyers make, and they were the best rate I could find. But hey, there's not a lot of plumbers out there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what your industry is. You summed it up perfect. With that, if you can, you will.
Yeah,
you know?
you can. And some guys, though, in their defense, might be hovering at a lower price range. They just haven't figured it out yet. They're
Yeah.
really
That
good.
too. Yeah.
They're really good.
Or maybe they're great. It's just that they're their niche or there's different also place in the, like if you're in Michigan, it's going to be a different market than if you're
Yeah,
in
Oakland
Tennessee,
County would be a
know.
different market than some more rural. Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So there's a lot of factors, but that's a great piece of advice is
Yeah.
for couples to think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not apples to apples, you know.
It's not.
But awesome, Dan. Well,
Awesome.
anything else on your mind these days?
No, man, I'm just glad you guys are here. I'm learning stuff. I'm watching Rocky over there. I'm looking at the board. I'm looking at the lighting over here. I'm just excited. I'm excited, man. It's good to be around 20-somethings, too. God, is it good to be around 20-somethings.
Not for long.
Not for long. We're
Oh boy,
Yeah.
closer to 30 than I ever been.
Yeah, yeah, 29 and a half, and it's like, whoa, that happened quick.
I'll do some time.
But thanks again, man.
Hey, man,
You're the
good.
man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Dan.
it.
Thanks.
Well, this has been another awesome episode of the Michigan Wedding Podcast. Huge thanks to you guys out there tuning in. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time, either on the podcast or at your wedding or your friend's wedding, because we got a lot of awesome weddings to be a part of this year. Take care. We'll see you guys later.